It does feel to me like Hamas is winning the propaganda war. A new Harvard Caps Harris poll shows that 60% of young Americans between 18 and 24 think the October 7th attacks by Hamas were justified. Justified. Another poll from the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs shows that 24% of Americans say that reports of sexual assaults against Israeli women by Hamas have been exaggerated. Most of the international community supporting Hamas, or at least ignoring or marginalizing the terror, with a 120 to 14 vote in October in the UN not condemning Hamas but condemning Israel. So have they won the PR war? Got a terrific panel tonight. Joining me now is Scotty Nell Hughes, former Trump campaign surrogate and conservative political strategist. Chris Cillizza, former CNN editor-large, author, and founder of So What? Daily political newsletter on Substack. And Pete Dominick, stand-up comedian and host of the daily podcast Stand Up with Pete Dominick. Good to see all of you. Chris, is Hamas winning the PR war?
So, I think the answer to that is yes. And I think the way that you phrase it is the right way to phrase it. Because I do think, we've talked about this before, and I think it's really important to keep mentioning. This is a social media war the likes of which we really have not seen before. Yes, I know Russia and Ukraine, but this seems to me that it is played out through clips, it is played out through images, right? It is played out through the woman holding the baby who has been killed in the bombing. And I just think we have seen more of that than we have the videos. And I know Cuomo talked about this on his show, and having seen the videos of October 7th and how shocking they were. The average person hasn't seen those. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's just the reality, right? I'm not sure they should or would, but it's different, right? Because every day you get the drumbeat of, here was a place that was bombed by the Israelis, here's who died. Right. And that doesn't mean they're in the right or they're in the wrong, but I think when you see that on a daily basis over and over and over and over again, it does have an effect.
I think you're right, and I think that the part of the problem, Pete, is that people talk about the numbers, right? You take the Hamas numbers where they combine terrorists and civilians, and they say 20-something thousand have been killed, et cetera. And I always say back, what number would have been okay, right? So would you have been okay if there were still people dying, civilians dying, if it had been 1,000 total? The answer, I've got to believe, wouldn't change.
I think that's a great question. I think the first thing that you said is the most important thing you said. It's that it feels like Hamas is winning the propaganda war. Then you, with all your journalistic ethics, cited data specifically about young people. And if you ask my we all have young kids, if you ask my 18 and 16-year-old daughters where they've learned the most about this conflict, they'd probably say in the car with you yapping in my ear about it. But it's TikTok. Yes. So where they get their information matters. In the polling question you asked, you're talking about young people and their perception of this. And I think that whenever we're talking about this issue, the best thing you can do to be responsible is to get the best comprehensive understanding of the history of the conflict, which most young people around the world don't have. What they do see is a persistent bombing campaign of civilians each and every day, and that adds up, and I think in their consciousness, to your perception question.
And the problem is that this means Hamas won, right? Because Hamas is specifically hiding among civilians. They are using civilians as shields, and the more civilians that die, the better it is for Hamas and the worse it is for Israel.
Dan, you're absolutely correct in the fact that Hamas from day one, while they were prepared for this, has been able to make themselves separate from the people in Gaza. So therefore, any bombs that go into Gaza, it's not Israel going after Hamas, it's Israel going after the Gazan people. Hamas has been able to separate themselves. That is not true. We know that in Gaza, Hamas is using them, has been elected as the main political party within Gaza, and therefore Hamas knew this going into it and knew that they were going to have to make themselves separate so that anything that happened in Gaza, they would actually be looking like they were the victims.
Well, what do you think, when you said Hamas has won, what do you think they've won or are winning? What?
I think they're winning the hearts and minds around the world of people. And I don't just mean, I think beyond just the Palestinian people. I think Hamas is winning over the hearts and minds, which is shocking to me.
I hate to say it, but this is like the schoolyard thing. But I think a lot of people forget Hamas started this. I mean, I don't want to be like, well, you pushed me first. But I mean, the reality of the situation is before October 7th, yes, we were at tense situation. It wasn't peaceful, but we weren't where we are today. And again, I really do think, the atrocities that happened on October 7th, that Cuomo talked about and has seen, right? That some folks have seen, I have not. I think that kind of has been elided. You know, it's like, wow, that was
by the atrocities that are happening every day.
True.
Yeah, but I think it's really important just to make clear that what is happening there right now is, as I think we said, Chris said, this is happening on social media in a way. And that controversy a couple weeks ago where young people were like defending Osama bin Laden after reading that, they don't know history. They don't know. And when it's explained to them in a certain way, and then in this case, they're seeing Israelis without seemingly caring about public opinion, what they would call in their national security, just slaughtering hundreds and thousands of people. That's what young people see. And I'm not sure how we can blame people for what they're seeing and hearing without having the full context, which we can't expect most people to have.
Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.